Sorry. It's just. Oh,
Not
we live. My
today.
bad.
Not today.
Hello, and welcome to our Q&A edition of Flutter Flow Live every Tuesday at a little bit after 3 when Joss is late and doesn't let Dimitar into the live stream because he's a bad boy.
Yeah, just and for all the people out there, when Josh said time, it's the world time, which is the UK time. Just
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's the middle
yeah,
time, and then it's
yeah.
probably about 15 minutes later. There's a slight time lag. I'm slightly to the right. Anyway, cool. So let's get straight to it. I am Joss. This is my host, Dimitar, the brains behind this organization, who is prepared and has been scoping through the community, answering your questions like Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey, firing away, and found some of the most exciting questions about some of the most commonly asked, most difficult things so that we can answer them for you here live. And if you have any other questions while we're going through that, please do add them in. And I love our clickbaity title, if I remember to actually put it there, of how to not filter data. I'm not sure. Is that what we're going to start with?
Yeah. So no, we're actually starting with there is one person who is in the chat right now. So hello,
Hello?
Uday Rai. I'm not sure if I pronounced it the right
Uday
way.
Raj?
Probably.
Uday Raj? I hope.
Yeah.
We're doing fantastic.
We're great. Thanks. We're so happy that we can do this and we have the time actually to do this. But
Yeah. It's
we will
like two,
begin with
I enjoy
actually
this. Like 2 happy hours of my week always. It's like not with a client, not doing
exactly.
work. I enjoy it.
Exactly. So we'll begin actually with the thing that we last finished it, and that was actually the custom action that we are trying to create, which is in our example, it was check wallet exists, and what we actually wanted to do is let's just recap that real quickly.
Yeah, I was going to
What
say, can
we're
I just say briefly what it was real quick? The reason we were doing this custom action, the idea is that you have options to run queries on widgets and on a page, and then you have the option on each page to run actions that run before the page load. So crucially, those run before those queries run and before any widgets on your page are actually drawn. The reason you might want to do this is essentially to check, for instance, if a user has a document, doesn't have a document, the status of some whether their order status is complete, so that you can make sure, A, to avoid gray screens of death, and B, then actually customize kind of what data is loading and create any necessary information, documents, updates that might need to be based on their status. This is especially good when you're bringing out new features. Obviously, you have old users. They don't have the necessary documents to make those features work. And the best practice is to create things, not try to create everything that someone needs when they sign up. Create documents as they're using features.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you really need to load data on page load, and the problem that most of the people or like everyone is that you cannot actually load document using an action right photo flow. For whatever reason, they're not you don't have this opportunity or this you don't have this at all. And the only way to actually load from query, it's or add a backend query, it's actually from this button over here, which you can do it from the scaffold. But the problem is that if you actually need to check something on load and in the action, because for example, you as you mentioned, you can check if something exists or some document exists, and then you can have a conditional value here, and then if it doesn't exist, then redirect it to some other page or do something else. Right now, this is not possible. You cannot do this, but we're trying. We were trying to do this last time we were live, and we will finish it with the code that I can show over here, which is not the finished code, of course, and this code it's not working. But why it's not working? We actually tried. There are like a couple of ways you can toggle this in Flutterflow. And we actually, I think we actually tried all of them.
I think this is the second time we've tried this too, because I keep hoping it will work, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly. And then for one of the first times, actually, we were homework, and we actually tried to do this not live, but we actually tried this offline. So when we are live, we can actually show the end result. But the problem is that when you have the boilerplate, you can actually see all the imports that are created by default from FluidFlow. But the problem here is that you have the backend, which is actually the backend that Dart is actually taking. I'll get a little bit in details, but I just want to.
Can you possibly zoom in a little bit? Is that possible,
Yeah, I'll
Dimitar?
try.
Sorry. If it's
I'll get a little bit in details, but I just want to explain what is
that's
the
perfect.
what is
That's
the
fine.
what is the case here, because I know that sometimes the FluidFlow team is actually watching us, so I
Hello.
hope they're so they can see see what we are dealing with. So the problem is that so the backend, we have the import from the backend. It's actually import because of the wallets record, because the return type we have is the document. The type of the document is wallets in our case. It could be events, it could be users, it could be anything.
Promo
But in
codes,
our
anything.
case, promo codes, everything. But in our case, it's wallets. And then that's in FlutterFlow, when the name of the document type, it's, for example, wallets, the object will be wallets record, like you can see on
And
the
by the
top of
way,
the first line.
sorry to interrupt, but just by for instance, when you're selecting document and you're choosing some property in a variable menu, what you're actually accessing there is an object. It's the user record. That's what Dimitar is referring to. Sorry.
Exactly.
For people like me who are not smart and don't know this intuitively.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the ways you can actually do this, and because just to be clear, because we have this backend at Dart, we can actually have access to wallets record. And this is actually the way, as I said, there are many ways you can tackle this. The problem that we're facing is that we cannot create the user's record. So essentially, we cannot create wallets. So we need to create the wallets in order to actually return wallets, right? So you can imagine this if you have if you have a simple custom function and you're trying to return integer, but you have string, and you need to cast the string into an integer or vice versa. So we have something like this over here, like some different types, but at the end of the day, what we want to return is a future of wallets record. And we can actually do, as I said, we can actually do this in a different kind of ways, but the two major ways that we can actually use is the one, both of them are actually used by FluidFlow, and the one that we can use, that we try to use, or at least I try to use, it's the one that I actually copy paste from the source code of FluidFlow. So this, in theory, this should work, because the backend here is I'm getting an error which it says that it's serialized is undefined, and also serialized is undefined, and the function isn't defined serialized data. But this is not actually not true, because if you go to the source code of FluidFlow, you can actually see that the backend .dart have import inside this file that is for serialized, and all the data or the objects or the functions and all the properties are there. So this error is actually a fake error. It should not be there, but it will not compile. So this is one of the cases. Maybe in the future, if they fix this, I hope they fix this, this code should work. And the other one, so if you're watching this in the future, like 1 year from now, this code should work. I hope less than 1 year from now, but yeah. So this is the other way, and this is Josh's way, so to say. So this is my way, and this is Josh's way. And the Josh way, it's actually also from the source code, and there is this get documents, they get document once, and you should be actually getting the documents from the document reference. But this is not working again, because it says the method get document once is defined for the type wallets record, which is also not true, because it is defined from this, and it's coming from this backend Dart. As I said, I have no idea why this is not working. If you have access to wallets record, you should have access to all the methods and all the properties object. This is how normally code is working, but I have no idea what Flow actually did and why it's not working. So to recap, this is not possible right now in Flow, but let's see in the future. If they allow it, we'll be here to actually, I think we'll be the first one to actually say that you can do it now. And then we can actually begin with the questions. If we don't have any questions from the ones that are live right now in our chat, we can. I actually have a couple of questions on my own that I wanted to talk with Josh about. And I don't know, Josh, if you are
I'm
there.
always suspicious about this. I don't know what's happened, by the way, why I'm showing you my sofa. Apologies. We're having some technical difficulties.
I have no idea. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's my sofa.
my first question for you is that have you played with Lottie Animations in Flow?
Yes, I have. I play with Lottie very frequently. We're good friends.
Did you actually happen to have Lottie Animations, but also the network path will be coming from a backend or some sort of or
So rather
or whatever?
than a fixed Lottie path, I've actually that's no, actually I've never set a Lottie. I've always done. That's true. I've always used Lotties in a fixed case rather than a dynamically generated one. For those of you who don't know, just a Lottie file is, technically speaking, it's a JSON, but essentially it's a GIF, if you like. It's a GIF that you can use in apps that's going to look and work a lot better than GIFs. You can get loads of them for free at lottiefiles.com. You can recolorize them and stuff. And it's when you see in apps things like, those nice little transition animations, anything from, loading buttons or just loads of, I must be able to think better examples than that. And they add a lot of life to your app. But I'm going to guess that Dimitar is about to tell us we can't use them dynamically.
No, no, because I
It's like
just
the
tried
Grinch Who Stole Christmas. They're really cool, but you can't use them.
Yes, because I was really looking forward to do this. At the end of the day, it was not working. It's not for some reason. I have no idea why. I will report this to the Flow team. I hope they
So
will
you've
fix.
essentially, where are you getting it from when you say you're getting it from the backend? So again, a Lottie file normally it will be when you publish a Lottie, it will give you a URL. You can also download that, which is a JSON file. And you would put that link, or you would upload the JSON file to Firebase storage, like you would an image. Then you could give the hosting URL. You can also upload it into your Flutterflow assets and then use it that way. And you were, I guess, trying to use probably an API call or store that JSON document somewhere as data and then pull it in, right?
Exactly. And the other problem is that in assets, if you're using assets, there's actually no way you can select dynamically assets. So this is
Yeah.
So this is something that probably in the future I have to see, because this will
Really?
actually because this is actually, if the network path is not working, if we can actually choose dynamically
I
assets.
understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. I thought you meant in general, like you wanted the selection from assets to be dynamic. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're putting something into the Flutterflow assets folder, that is essentially something that then is bundled inside of your app package, right? So if you've got a 10 megabyte video inside as one of your assets that you're loading from assets rather than pulling a network, that means that your app, your resulting zip file, or it's essentially 10 megabytes bigger, right? And it has, because it has that video file inside of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in my example, I have only 5 Lottie animations, which if I had the opportunity to put it in as assets and then dynamically select
I understand what you mean now.
preferable way. Yeah.
Because you're saying
right
that so you can't do it with network. And why do you think in the network, my get, if I had to make a stupid person's guess, I would guess that it's because the Lottie player, which is essentially like a YouTube player or something like that, it needs an init state, and I'm guessing you tried all the different things like putting it in the local state first, but yeah, why?
I haven't tried to put it in the local state, to be honest. Probably putting it in the local state will be the solution.
Yeah,
To
I
be
think
honest,
that would
because
work.
right now it's right now when I put it in local state, I see the image, the actual image, which I think if you see the image over here, you should
It should work.
should work.
So my guess is then, if we were to look at the code, that the Lottie player is essentially has an init state, which is then at the very, very top of the page and is running before even any like actions on load, before those actions on load, before any queries. And so it's initting itself, it's initializing itself, and it's initializing as null. And this, I think, was the reason why I couldn't get my YouTube widget to work on a bottom sheet. It was the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
I think. Or all of them.
Yeah, let's. If you're ready, we can go to the first question that I picked.
Always ready.
The live session, and it is a workaround to filter query by elements not in array. So yeah, the main question probably is that how you can actually filter elements that are not inside the array, and can you actually do this out of the box
This
with
is a really good one.
Flow or not?
So how do you want to approach this?
Yeah, just
you want me to answer?
You can tell me. You can
I can guide you.
I
So
will ask questions, then you make the
you get the questions. I have to do the answers. That's fine. That's fair enough. Okay, so this is a really interesting one. So there are a few elements here. We've talked about this a lot, and I think we're going to talk about a lot more. And if if you guys keep requesting tutorial videos, I'm going to try to make more of these to cover some of the different solutions. But the basic thing here is about data filtering and the difference between doing a data filter via a Firestore query, which is what Dimitar is doing right now, where you're going to a collection of whatever it is, and then you're filtering out by a couple of different parameters, user ID, whatever it is, created time, you're sorting it, and this is going to get you your documents. And for small numbers and kind of small cases, you can just do these. And a lot of people we see, they're putting them right where they need them. But in other cases, what you have is you want to be grabbing. You don't want to be making these queries multiple times. Every time you're doing that, it's going to have a performance hit on your app. It's going to see those little spinnies, and you're going to be end up paying for a Firestore, which I know I normally say it's a good problem to have, but it can add up fast if every single time you're clicking, you're moving, whatever, you're changing tab, that it's rerunning those queries. So the more efficient way to do this is to get all of the documents you might need on the page and then to filter them. So this is another question about data filtering, because it is, I do think, the most complex part of Flutter Flow, and the part that can take your app from being really cool and awesome and amazing, obviously, but kind of straightforward, to much more dynamic and interactive, and also better performing, to be honest. You can use multiple filters, search bars, all these different things. So this specific question was about filtering not in array, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, I didn't read all the text. So essentially, that is a Firebase filter you can do. So not in array. What does that mean? So he wants to go through, iterate, essentially, loop through a list of, what is it? Do we have a name that I can give it? Elements? Okay. There's no, what do you want to call it? Ponies? A list of ponies?
It's orders.
Oh, orders. Okay.
And applied
Fine.
orders.
Orders.
Customers applied.
Orders for ponies. Okay, so we've got basically an e-commerce app. So if you make an e-commerce app yourself, this might be helpful. But it applies to any app. So he's got a bunch of orders that he wants to display on the page, and then he wants to filter those based on some condition. The specific condition, it sounds like, is not an array, which means he has another list of things that he wants, or he or she, I should say. No, it's Johan, that he wants to compare it against. So for instance, let's think of a good one. So we might have orders, and then we have a list of orders that need to be dealt with, that are like pending, for instance, and we've stored that in a list or something. Or we have, I don't know if he's given a specific use case, but we might have a user that has their own array in their user document for some reason, which is a list of order references or order IDs. And so what he wants to look for is whether each one of those orders, when he's displaying them in a list, is not in that array. So I'm guessing probably to display visibility or something. Yeah? Orders for which customers have already I should have probably read this rather than just making it up. I have a list of orders every customer should see, and each customer should be able to send one quote for each order. Orders for which customers have already applied or sent a quote for should not appear for them. The way I'm trying to solve this by adding a field on each order called customers applied. Okay. And every time a customer applies for an order, their ID should be added to the field. It's an array. And afterwards, the query showing the orders should filter out orders where their ID is present. The query should filter. However, I am now seeing that there is no condition that lists elements which are not present in the array. I assume this is a combination. Okay, great. So I should have read this first. That would be much more helpful. Now I can actually explain what the question is. So I think he has been trying to do this with Firestore query, right? Is that your conclusion, Dimitar?
Yeah, I think just help me to figure out.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So do we have an orders collection? Right.
Yeah,
So
we have.
Cool. We've got an orders collection. We're going to do a list of orders. And
so you're saying on the scaffold, I should only query the list of documents and not use only
exactly,
here,
exactly.
Right?
So, and if you just do an order by and do a created, like by created time or something. So the
order by date.
Yeah. So the reason we're doing this ordering here is essentially as long as we know that we always basically want, no matter who we're filtering out, what filtering we're doing, we always want to have the new ones first. Then we can do that order by at the top, and it's a nice way that means that even when we start cutting things out and filtering things out, the results will always still be in that same top to bottom order. Cool. So now for our entire page, one time, one query, we've got all the orders, which, as he said, all of the users should see. However, what each of those orders has, I think we need to add a property in the Firestore document, unless you already did that.
Which one? What is it?
Here. So each of these has a list field. It's called applied. So basically, it's tracking which users have already applied for this order. Yeah. So it's a list of document IDs, so strings. It's actually
list of document.
He has strings actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And before we leave this page, can you actually stupid list thing every time? Can you actually do what you were about to do? Can you call it like applied user ref? So add another field and do it with a list of user references.
Sure.
The reason is because I'd like to show the difference between how.
Oh no.
It's just like watching a slow motion car crash. I'm like, I can't say. If I say anything, he's not going to be able to stop. He'll have clicked. He's a fast clicker. I can't stop this from happening.
No.
Cool.
I'm done.
So in each of these order documents, for whatever they're for, ponies, we're basically adding a user's ID to a list once they've done it to ensure that they can't do it again. But what that means then is we want to then, he's trying to filter them out so I don't see the ones that I've already applied for. So offers that I've already claimed, basically. So again, while the correct way I would say to do this, we're going to now generate our list from children here, which is the same essentially. We're not redoing the
orders and then filter list, right?
Exactly. So we're taking now all of those documents, which is our start point. And then what we want to do is we want to filter out some of them. So you've got this filter list items. And filtering is going to work just like if you're, any other condition. So the condition we want to see here is, does this list of user IDs, does it contain my authenticated user IDs? And this is the weird one, whereby I'm curious, actually. Let's see how far we go with this. So if you click applied right there. Applied.
It should be
the one above it, applied.
Applied. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. And then you're going to have list contains item. And then it gets confusing. And this might, again, I think he was trying to do it with Firestore. But the way to actually do this was when you're looking for in array contains, when you're comparing a list, you don't actually need to use this condition in the same way as you would do if you're comparing it. Is the name equal to Dimitar Joss? The way you actually can do this is, so if you remove the condition, no, you don't. Well, you can do it with conditional value, but for a simple one like this, you can actually just close this out. Sorry, go back.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the first part, basically the first part of the filter.
This part?
Close this one.
This one? This one?
This one, exactly. So we'll start basically from the beginning. And what we'll do here is instead of a condition, we're actually not going to use a condition. So we're going to edit that. And what we're going to do is we're going to item in list.
Yeah.
And then get document property. Yeah, applied. Exactly, applied. It's right there. So the third.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're going to see list contains item. List contains item. And now you're going to be able to select authenticated user ID.
Yeah, authenticated user
Now,
ID.
I'm not.
And probably I should be able to click over here, right? To apply
you could do it
state.
opposite. So if you want to display the ones where, so right now it will display if list contains items. So if they aren't, it, as Dimitar said, yeah, we want the opposite of this. So if we want it, if it doesn't contain item. Now, I just pause for a second here. This is as you went naturally to conditions, and I think that is the natural thing to do. I'm not 100% sure why this has always been like this. This list contains item, this way of doing it without doing it as a condition. If you do it as a condition, you basically end up at a dead end. You can now do it with conditional by. I'm not sure if there's a reason for this.
I think this is because of the methods, because there is one method that it's actually contains. So there is a method that it's checking if it in the array it contains something or not, and it's something else if you want to just do it with a simple condition. Because of the simple condition, you're just comparing things if it exists or not, if it exists, but if it's equal or not, or if it's a less or. So
it's just really strange for
things.
me. I don't know. Yeah, it's just because it doesn't have like its own option. It always seems a little bit counterintuitive to me, and I know it does come up a lot. People they just don't think necessarily to look your tar line, for instance. Had it the other day, I remember. But okay, so now if we just do continue.
And now we should be done, right?
And that's done. That is the solution. It's really as simple as that. Let's do some extra credit though, which is that just compare.
We don't have time for extra
credits.
Fine.
Okay, next question then. Next question, sorry. Dimitar is being like this today with me.
Hello, Manish. How are you? Okay, so we have this next question. First of all, okay, let's do it some easy one, which is display name on app icon. So this one, I think it's not something that we can much help. But let's see if we can actually answer to this question.
This one, yeah.
And you know, wait, it's loading. It's a little bit slow.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
No, it's not this one. Sorry, this one. It's someone asking so they can write more charters and the less charters or in the app name. But actually, this name push notification for new post. So maybe you can read this one and then we can try it.
Okay, so push notifications for new posts. My users can follow. This is by Nick Sorrow. Maybe I'll actually get better and do this more formally now. Actually do it the right way around rather than just start rambling on about stuff. My user can follow groups, and in the groups, they can create posts. I'm trying to set up push notifications that get sent to the followers of the group every time a new post is created. The parameter on the page is named rec, which equals record of my group. The source of the recipients is set to rec followed by, and in my database under the groups collection followed by is, and in my database under the groups, so we have a groups collection followed by is list.ref users. I downloaded my app through TestFlight on 2 different phones to test this, but notifications aren't sent. I am, however, able to send a manually triggered push notification in the Flutter Flow settings. Okay, for starters, push notification configuration can be a pain, especially for iOS. There are little extra steps. And so if you're ever in this position, I would encourage you to go and really make sure step by step that go through all the videos again, even if you think you've done it 100 times and you're positive, I did that right. I know I did that right. Like, even if you're getting somebody else to do it and telling them which buttons to press can actually sometimes help you notice that you've missed something sometimes. I'm not saying that's always the case. There might genuinely obviously be bugs and stuff. So in this case, it looks like if he's able to send manual push notifications, but his automatic push notifications are not getting sent, there are a few things I would suggest. One is just to actually make sure that action is set up. I don't know if you can enlarge that image if we're going to have enough information to see whether it is, but we can show how to. So back in call, create record, trigger push notifications, multiple recipients, source rec, available options, followed by. I mean, from this little extra.
I was to be sure to make sure I was actually wanted us to make this possible. So like show how you can actually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest as well.
Exactly.
I was going to suggest that we can definitely do that. I think it's just a good example to do. Yeah. So let's go ahead and if I can read you out if you want the collections, and we can set them up. I should have taken a screen. Well, no, I can't because I linked to it. But try to take a screenshot quickly, or you can send me the link and then I'll read them out to you. If you just pop it in either chat.
You can see it probably, right?
Sorry, can you just send me the link and then I'll just open it up and then I can read them too?
Sure.
Sorry. Timitar is just like, Joss, what is going on today? I feel it's like every day like that though, so it's okay. Believe it or not, this is one of the highlights of my day. Today has been a long day. A bad day, a good day. Right, so let me read. So we have a groups collection, so we need to add that. Start with.
Okay, so groups.
Right? Yes, we will have a collection called groups. And we will have a collection.
Should I put
inside? Inside the standard like created time, name of group, get creative, name of group, and then I think he says it has a list of. Let me double check. Followed by in my database under the groups collection, he has a field called followed by is a list of document reference users. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's most of it basically. So this is a very common setup that you would have, and then there's another collection called posts, which is what is going to be triggering the post notification. So users adding a post, parameter on the page. Okay, cool. I don't have to. Okay, and that's it. It's a pretty simple setup here that we need. Yeah, that's fine. We can pretend we can have some text comments. That's the basic structure of that.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, great. I'm done. Okay. So on the page, let's just pretend we have a button somewhere that is creating that post and triggering that that action.
Okay.
That we're making our post, and that's going to be then what triggers a bunch of push notifications. Thanks for the question, Manish. We will add it to the list. It's API requesting binary data. We can definitely touch on that. Just bear with us, yeah. So we got this.
I don't know why it's keep wanting me to compile the custom functions. I just compiled that 3 times while we were live, and I didn't touch the custom function.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, it's okay. Ours is not the reason why. So this document would be what you would press when you create the post. So we're just going to create a document in Firestore.
So yeah, first create a document and then
exactly, and then we're going to be doing the push notifications. Exactly.
Okay, so create the post.
Post,
right? So
yeah.
Post
and whatever fields we wanted.
The name will come from the text field. Sorry, the widget state.
Oh, you made a text field. You're going all, Dimitar, you're going all out today. I was just going to make a fake one with like hello world, but okay. I love it. I love the commitment. That's the full service.
The description with the George is cool.
There's a description? Okay.
And this
make me look bad or what?
Okay, and what else? We have the date, which we can take from
the global properties.
Oh, it says Firestore server.
Yeah, this is fairly entirely
This is something new.
Does it say it for everybody, Dimitar? Are we in the?
It is. It
Okay.
is. I'm
Yeah,
using
the server
normal.
timestamp. That's exactly where we are. So yeah, this is added kind of recently. The difference, there is a slight difference from server timestamp when you would want to use it. So essentially, every time you create a document, and I think also when you update it, I think by default, essentially in the Firebase document, there is a property called, the Firebase timestamp. I'm not exactly sure what's more like, whether it's better or worse, more accurate. There are definitely things I've read where it's good to use it.
We still need to try it, and we can tell in the future which is better and which should
Exactly.
choose. But in reality, I think both are fine, to be honest.
Oh, I know what the thing is. It's because of time zones. That's why, right?
Probably.
I think it's to do how Firebase, whether it's using local time zone, but we don't have time to get into that. So that's for another day. So we've created our document, with uber complete text field and everything, right?
Oh, it says cannot use field value for field date. That's strange, isn't it?
So no, I think this is exactly the thing. I think that when you do a document in using global properties timestamp, whether that is, I think by default, always UTC-0.
Yeah.
And the
so you
server,
cannot use this.
It's one or the other. It's vice versa. Because basically, Flutterflow is, you want obviously all of your timestamps to be in the same time zone so that you can compare them, right? You don't want to use the local time. Or I hate timestamps. They're the stupidest thing ever. So we've created this, yeah?
Yeah.
Great. Now, what we would want to do, the next step, if you open the action flow editor, would be push notification action, which hopefully we have deployed.
Or yes?
Woo!
No.
No.
Let's see. No, we haven't. Of course, we haven't. But
okay. Well, now we're going to show you how to trigger push notifications. To deploy push notifications with Flutterflow is super simple. It's a one-click process. You're just going to go ahead and that, and then it's going to run. Hopefully.
It should work. Wait.
Oh, you didn't? Did you just hack the system and just not actually deploy it and just turn on the feature?
Yeah, of course.
Sneaky.
We don't
but
have
if you want
to
to actually work, you would have to deploy it.
Yeah, we don't have time for this
cool.
right now.
So let's go through just really quickly. When you're set up these, you're going to get a bunch of options. Don't be overwhelmed. It's really pretty simple. So that first one there is the parameters you're setting is whether you are doing a single recipient or a group recipient, right? Multiple recipients.
Yeah.
And the information that it needs you to give it there in order that it sends it to the right person is their user reference. So if you wanted to send it to the authenticated user only for some reason, which you wouldn't, and in our original question, we're sending it to a multiple people. We want to send it to everybody in the group, right?
Okay, so let's do that.
So in order to send it to multiple people, what we need is a list of document references, which we have in the groups document. Yeah. So in this use case, essentially, I would assume every group has a page. On that page, there are comments you are making. So in the actual question, he has a parameter, he says, on the page called the group's record, which I'm assuming he's passed in. So parameter, and it'll be a document parameter for the groups, basically.
So we can imagine I should do a query of the groups and then pass this group, isn't it?
So normally the situation would be, I'm guessing that he has a list of groups. Users click on a group and go to that page. And so what then happens, he passes through that whole document for the group into this page.
Yeah.
I actually would do it exactly as you were going to do it. I would pass through the document reference, and then I would query that document and get it from document from reference rather than passing through the whole document. Although it's an extra read, it means that your information is real time and will update itself. When you pass through
I need the group reference, right?
You don't need to do anything. You don't need anything right now. You just need to. Sorry, I can't talk in sorry. So on the page, create a parameter, which should be a document reference parameter. like on the scaffold page, like a
Yeah.
parameter.
Yeah, it's you mean the parameter?
Yeah, exactly. Here. So we create a parameter, which is a document reference for the groups. So you can just call it groups ref or something.
I got it.
Cool. And that's the groups, right? So we just save that. And essentially this would have been passed from the previous page. And so now what we can do is we can do query document from reference.
Yeah.
Same place, yeah, exactly. Query document from reference. And it's a groups document. And then we can use a parameter.
I'm not doing it from right.
Yeah, exactly. And then just using groups and then use that parameter right there. So again, just to reiterate, the difference here than passing an entire document is it means that if there are changes made while the user is on this page, they will see them. So if there's somebody adds to the group while they're on this page, that extra user would still get a push notification. Great. So now I've got the groups document. It's easy to set our list of recipients, which is from this list of user references. No further changes. That's fine. And then the other fields are really simple. There's just what you want the text, what you want the title to be, or the message to say. And then you normally have if you want it to trigger a notification sound, be obnoxious. And then also what you want the behavior to be when they tap. So the behavior on tap is going to be, you can take them to a specific page. Normally you might want to take them to this comment, this specific comment, or this group page. And importantly, if we're going to whatever page this is, remember this page in order to function needs a parameter passed into it. So you can actually essentially pass in that parameter from the notification the same way as you would. Apparently our stream quality is really low today.
Yeah,
I kind of noticed it too. I don't really know how to fix that. I apologize for that. I have unfortunately no control, but I think
maybe
you're kind of Mac.
More.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you're Mac'd on Zooms.
Maybe this is better.
We have unfortunately very little control. I always just think it's too small, but I thought it was always just for me that it was like that. I didn't know it's for other people.
I think your connection today it's a little bit
my connection
because you're cutting. I don't know if I'm cutting.
Yeah, I keep hearing that audio cutting too. Okay, my bad. It's because I'm on the Chromebook probably rather than the Mac. I apologize. If it's really intolerable, I can switch computers. But
no, it's okay.
So with the passing of parameters, for essentially in the same ways you can pass parameters from one page to the other, you can also pass a parameter from a push notification, meaning when a user receives it, they press it, they go to that page, and that page then will have the group parameter that it needs. And you set that up in the push notification when you're configuring it. So you can. Oh.
What you're saying?
Why did we delete the push notification?
Because I've just given the error, so I should. Okay. I cannot deploy the project, and I was getting an error. But we showed what we wanted to show, right?
Oh, I mean, it was the last part about parameters. That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Cool. No worries. So that's that question then, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we can answer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can answer the question from the chat.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right? Yeah, you've been waiting patiently watching our blurry stream. So your question was, it's definitely one for you, Dimitar. I'm not smart enough. Which is, how do I upload files to an API request binary data?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, the problem here is that this is a complex problem because, and I don't think someone actually had done it before, passing the files as a binary data. But probably there is a way to do it. I'm not really sure because of the limitations of Flutterflow. As we actually begin at the beginning of our live stream, we talk about the current limitation of the custom code, and because of those limitations, you are actually not allowed to access, like for example, data types or create your documents inside custom code. So I'm not sure if you actually can pass because in order to do this, I think you actually need to convert first the files to binary and then send this. But I'm not sure if you can actually do this. But we can try if you want to, George. We can try
And if you
to do
have
this.
if you have a specific like documentation page or API that you've been trying to work with that has the instructions, that would help Dimitar definitely, obviously, to answer your question. Better if you happen to have that hand, or at least can, so we know exactly what you mean, what that API is looking for.
Yeah. So are
To be
you
honest, it's
still
out of
there?
my depth.
Okay.
He says okay, so I'm hoping that we might get a documentation link, because what does it mean by binary data? What's the difference? We can, while we wait, binary data versus non-binary data. What is the difference there that you were referring to? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So the thing is that when you have a file, so let's imagine that it's google.com. Google. Oh, this is the name of it. So this would be a binary file or whatever. I can spell it right. So it's google.com slash and then file.json, for example. I don't know if you can hear me because there's
And I
something
was
wrong with. I
sorry,
hope.
I was turning on my mic to try to see if the quality was better than improving.
Okay.
I'm here
Okay.
though. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So it's like file.json, and then the binary one, except of file.json, it should be like as the random strings and random string. So it should be like I don't know, like 64 strings or something like that. I'm not very familiar with the crypto thing of the, or how exactly the code is working, but this is essentially will happen. So if you have, for example, if you're sending something to google.com and you have variables, and the variable will be the file, here you cannot actually send the file, right? So you have the string, you can actually send the string. And if you go over here to actually send the file, it should be again a string, and you can actually send this file using a get as well. And how do you send this file using a get? You can actually say google.com slash, and then you can say file, and this way you can actually send the link to the file. For example, if we send a link to, for example, Dropbox, and then slash my file, for example, .json or wherever, you can actually send the file like this. But the question here is how you actually send this of binary type. We can actually, in this case, we should have function, custom function. In this custom function, we can say like file to binary will be the name of it, and we will return string. I'm sure if that string it's a binary. To be honest, I'm not really sure about this, but this would be the file name, and I can show you how you can do it. But I'm not sure if we can actually try this. But if we have time, we actually try this and see if this actually works.
I'm just gonna switch computers.
And I will return.
Okay. I'll be
Yeah,
back in
and
2
I will
seconds.
return the sure. And I'll return the file name, and then if I get the file, so if I get the file from a source, let's say that this should be, I don't, I think this should be a local source. You cannot just take the file from from internet. I think this file should come from your own device. In theory, you should be able to use a file. And then, but in order to use file right now, you need to have import Dart IO, which is input output, and that's the library in order to use the file object. But you don't have access to the library right now. That's why you can use file. But in the future, you actually have access to the library, but not. And then I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not sure if this will work with, for example, Dropbox, Dropbox.com, and then my file. I'm not sure if this will work. with external files. I'm not sure about it. But with the local ones, it will definitely work. And then the file, this is the method actually that is converting the file into the binary. So it says read the file and convert it into binary. And then I can actually return this binary. It says list of ints, so I can change my return time to be integer and then list of integer, and they should work. The only thing that right now it's not working is the file, because the file, it says that it's not defined,
Mhm.
but what you want to import, I'll just show you over here, because right, as I said, right now you cannot import, but you should have this import at the first or second line in your code. And if you import this error, those errors should be gone, and then you should have a working custom function to switch to convert file to a binary, and then you can actually send this binary using the API call. But as I said, right now we cannot test it, as currently this will not work because of the limitations. But
And what the only way I
yeah,
think
just
you could get around those limitations is essentially by, if you really needed to do this, if it's essential for your app and there's no kind of other way around, is you could create, for instance, a button as a custom widget. And
you
because
can
when you're creating a custom widget, you then have the ability to do these imports that you cannot do in a custom action. So you would be
exactly.
able to have basically this exact same code that Dimitar's got right here. You'd then be able to do the necessary import. And it just means that you have it's obviously a little bit less flexible than with a custom action, but it does allow you to do if it's kind of mission critical.
Can you post this in the
Yeah,
chat,
I'm
because
just
for
going
some
to.
reason, yeah, I don't have access to the chat. So if you can do
You know,
this. No, I don't have access to the chat,
you never have
unfortunately.
access to the chat, or did I ban you?
No,
You mean to
never,
ban me?
never.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can actually go over here, and you can actually import whatever you want to over here. So I can say import, for example, Dart, and that what Dart IO, and this will actually work. And you can see right here, right now, I don't have those errors anymore because I imported Dart IO. So if I command this, you can see
Cool.
that I have the errors. But I think Manish, uh, I think for the flow, and I think in the few weeks from now or something like that, you can
Impossible. No.
actually, yeah, when they change the custom code, you can actually import
Mhm.
things in the custom function. We can actually try this and see if this actually working, because to be honest, I wanted to do it this way, which will be the, so to say, the most easier way possible. I don't want to be, of course this can be done with the custom functions like you said,
Mhm.
or custom, sorry, widget like you said, but it's like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's the same.
And
I'm like the same with like it's always in my mind like custom widgets uh, should be, you can do some really cool things with a custom widget, but it's entirely contained within that custom widget, and it's exchanging data inside and out, keep updating state. Da, da, da. If it's possible to break your app into as small a piece as possible and have custom actions to have things that you can reuse and component, da, da, that's always in my mind a better approach than. But sometimes, yeah, you have. It's great that you can do a custom widget, but I guess it's just dependent if it's mission critical for what your app does. So I hope that answered your question. It was, I'm not going to lie, hard for above my intelligence level. But
yeah,
that's why we have Dimitar here.
yeah, because, well, what is the point of the end of the day? What if I show you to do it for the custom widget, and then you can do it, but this will be like
Yeah,
3
exactly.
or 2 hours
Well, and
coding,
also
and
you can
what's the point
only
of
do it that exact way, right? You can't then do that
exactly?
same thing in any other situation. You have to create a different custom widget for custom button. So hopefully in the future, we never know. They do come up with new features all the time, and we hope that in the future they might allow greater access, because it does seem to be technically possible.
Exactly. So what's
Cool.
the point? As I said, what's the point of showing this when
Yeah,
I prefer to show it in the, so to say, easiest way
I
possible
think
when this is
so.
available? Yeah.
Um,
So, George, do you have any questions from the community for us?
you mean, did I do my homework? Of course, I'm not frantically scrolling through the community right now looking for an interesting question that I was tagged in. So why would I ever do that? There's at least we make ourselves laugh. Class package not getting. There was actually one that I saw. I'm trying multiple images. I've talked about that before. Device orientation locked in portrait mode. I get a lot of these. Not able to escape variable in API call. Secure. Oh yeah, secure credentials for API keys. Did you see that thread? I think you did because I think you chimed in on it. Updating 2 users with 1 action. I feel like I've done that one before.
Oh, we can talk about the one that you actually created. We have like 5 minutes more,
Yeah.
and if you didn't have something more interesting than that, we can actually talk about the bunch update. I know we already talked about it probably, and you actually post a very good tutorial on the community about that, but I don't think we actually talked about it
Okay, that would be a good
on the
one. I mean,
last
it's
day.
definitely one of the things that seems to come up a lot, and it's hopefully something that we're going to be able to help people out with more variations of this kind of thing. So, yeah, we can go through and do the batch update
Yeah,
one.
well, probably the batch delete because we have only 5 minutes left. So the
And
batch
so
delete,
yeah, okay,
the batch delete, it's simpler than this one, and I already did it. To be
okay.
honest, to be honest, I don't remember how I managed to do it. I think. I mean, it was not from your post, but I think it's the same idea, and I
Ooh,
think
you're using a rival's post. Are you
yeah,
going
but I
behind my
think
back again?
yeah, of course.
uh, so,
But I think it's the same idea. So you can just
turns
I
out
know
Firebase only has
you're
one SDK. Yeah.
I know you're the master of that, so you can walk me through this
Yeah,
code
no,
if
I
you
think it's really interesting. So obviously, the reason for this is because Firelight by default is really making you work with one document at a time. In many cases, you want to batch delete, batch update, batch create. That's the short version. The way you can do that is with a custom action, and it's really not that complicated once you get the hang of it. So the starting point for this that makes kind of all the magic happen is because we're batch deleting, we want, I think, are you feeding in a list of collection references or collection?
No, I'm feeding it a collection name actually because I was thinking that
Oh, you're just deleting everything in the collection.
exactly.
You're wiping it. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's do that.
This is my approach of doing
Okay.
it.
So
Maybe
what you see
next
here,
time we can do it your approach.
exactly. So in this custom action, you don't necessarily even need a return value. The input is just again, Dimitar has done collection name, which means that he doesn't have to recreate this custom action just to do the same thing for different collections. So first of all, there's a null safety check on line 2, obviously, and the magic though really starts to happen on line 5. The key thing that you're going to notice there is this final Firestore equals Firebase, the blue part, Firebase Firestore.instance. So what this is this is how you access essentially the same thing that Flutterflow does. Your Firebase Firestore, manipulate your data is with this the instance. Yeah. What Dimitar is doing is giving it a variable name to make his code nice and clean because he is not like me and he's a professional. So he's giving it a name called Firestore. That means that he can use that word at any point later in any way he wants, and it will just equal. It will insert Firebase Firestore.instance. He's then going and commenting his code like a hero. I could, if I had better eyesight, I wouldn't even have to know anything to do this. He is then getting the reference for the collection. So the next part of your Firebase interaction, if you like, once you've dictated which Firestore it is with the instance, you then need to know which collection it is. So again, we've set this out, final collection ref, and he is going firestore.collection collection name. So the collection name part is obviously the parameter we're passing in. That could be users, wallets, groups, whatever. And again, we're inserting, remember, every time it says Firestore, that blue part is really what it means. And then this dot collection is where we're specifying our collection. On the next part, we are then going to go, I'm going to guess, and we're going to specify the get. So Dimitar is getting all of documents. So you are doing it slightly differently. So, but this is actually good. So this is the most basic thing. In order to do stuff with Firestore documents in general, you need to get them. So it's as simple as .get with double brackets, parentheses. So Dimitar is going here and he is getting all of the documents in this collection. Then, because
I have a
naming
question.
yes.
I have a question. Do you know why they call it snapshot? And what is the difference between the query snapshot and the document's reference?
They're totally different things. So a query snapshot is essentially you have made a query of a collection or across collections, whatever it is, and then it has got you a list of document snapshots. Yeah. So it's a list of snapshots of those documents in time. Once they come in, they don't update from that point. You would need to like refresh that query if you wanted to update them. So you get a basically copy. It's like copy paste over to the side. So then you can chop them up and do whatever you want with them. A document reference is like a Windows Explorer file path. C drive, my photos, this folder is definitely not my porn, etc., etc. It is a / path reference listing to exactly where that individual document lives in your Firestore database. From the document reference, you can use things like .get in order to get that full document. In this case, what Dimitar is not specifying a specific document. He's going collection or collection ref because he's labeled things nicely. And so he is doing a query snapshot of all of them. Now, this is interesting. Okay, cool. So then he's called that snapshot doc for each document. Crucially, async, the purple part, what this means is async await is a method that controls when things run. So async says everything that, because he's doing for each, he's looping through them. So async, they can start anytime. And then the await means it waits for that next part to finish before doing the next one. This is important with Firestore. Otherwise, you can end up, your functions won't complete and they won't actually write those data to the database. So he's going through each one and then he's going, getting the document .reference, and then he is doing the .delete command, and that will delete it. And this is working. So that's the end result. There are lots of different ways to do this. This method works in the majority of cases, and it's not a problem until it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, come back to us and we can tell you a different way to do it, such as like with a transaction. You can obviously also do the server side and stuff like that. But yeah, that is how it works.
So next time when we are live, we can show how to do a batch update, right?
Yeah, batch update. And if these kind of custom actions would be useful for your users, please do let us know. We're very interested to know specifically if would find it more useful to have kind of just copy paste templates for them like this, or if you would prefer to really have a full interactive builder in the same way we offer for Cloud Functions to app.flexpress.dev. Because we're not sure. I ask this every week. We've been getting some feedback. Please do give your comments because it will dictate which direction we go. So yeah, thank you as everyone for joining. Thank you for Dimitar for being the brains here. And yeah, that's it for this week, I think.
Thank you. See you next week.
We will see you no, not next week. We will see you when? Wednesday, right?
I'm not sure, because if we agree to do this Wednesday updates and Monday Q&As, that means this Wednesday we don't have updates. So if we don't have an update,
what if they do it tomorrow? Yeah,
if it comes tomorrow, then you will see it tomorrow.
Because it's not so regular like it used to be every Friday, right? They're either building something big.
If there is an update, we'll see us Wednesday. If there isn't an update, we'll see it on Monday.
Oh, we'll just see Wednesday. I'll be here, even if Dimitar isn't. If it's not, we're going to build stuff together and it's going to be awesome. We'll give them our updates. Updates on the world peace. All right. Goodbye, guys. Thanks for joining us, and see you on Wednesday, 3 p.m. global time or UK time.